mention, but never gets a mention. And he's the bogeyman in all the divisions, and he needs a shot at something big. Boo Boo Andrade.
You couldn't be more right. I just
100%
covered Boo Boo.
Bogeyman. The man's a 2-weight world champion, and he will box the ears off anyone who has the bollocks to get in the ring with him. Give the man a shot at something good.
Might we see him on your undercard?
He's moved up now, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Into what weight is it now? 168. So you got Caleb Plant, you got David Benavidez. Who else is there?
Yeah, he wants Charlo.
Get them all in. Give the man a chance. He's 33, 34-year-old. He's a 2-weight world champion, and he hasn't boxed any of these big names, and not on his own problem. It's the other names don't want to fight him. Give Andrade a chance at something big.
So what's good? It's the one, the only, but what do I know boxer coming back at y'all with another one, man. So we have Demetrius Andrade. I was watching his interview with Punch Drunk Boxing. Shout out to Punch Drunk. He basically stated that he feels like Edgar Berlanga will be getting a shot at Canelo before anybody else does. And I'm gonna go on record and say I hope that's not true. I'm not gonna bash Canelo because it hasn't been confirmed yet. But I hope that that's not true because, bro, if you guys say that Demetrius Andrade or Charlo or David Benavidez doesn't deserve a fight, how in the world can you justify Edgar Berlanga getting a title shot at Canelo before either of those guys that I just stated, right? Now, Edgar Berlanga, who was a hot commodity coming in, I think he had like 16 fights, 16 knockouts, all of them in the first round. At one particular time, Top Rank was building him up, trying to make him to be the next big thing. He's super middleweight Puerto Rican, Top Rank was building him up, but as of recently, actually, I don't think he's had a knockout since 2020, and it's 2023. So he, when the competition kind of grew, he started kind of looking, like, he hasn't been looking dominant. He fought Damon Nicholson, a guy that Demetrius Andrade just fought actually. Steve Rose, a guy that we didn't even really want to see with Canelo. I mean, not Canelo, but Triple G fought. Alexis Angulo gave him trouble. He actually bit Alexis and got suspended. And now he's fighting Jason Quigley, a guy that Demetrius Andrade knocked out in 2 rounds. So if you look at his resume, he doesn't have a good resume at all. Some things are justifiable. This right here is not one of those situations, right? I don't see Canelo. I don't possibly see how there's any way possible that Edgar Berlanga would deserve a fight with Canelo over the likes of Demetrius Andrade or it's like David Benavidez. Now, Demetrius Andrade and Canelo Alvarez have a very big history. They have a long history, going all the way back to 154, where Demetrius Andrade was calling out Canelo heavy. I want to say Demetrius either had the WBA or the WBO belt at 154. They tried to make the Canelo fight at one particular moment, but Canelo chose to fight James Kirkland. Then Demetrius Andrade, he got stripped for his belt. I think this was the WBA when he had the WBA. He got stripped. Might have been the WBO though. But anyways, he got stripped for his belt for inactivity or whatnot. They gave it to who did they give it to? I think Liam Smith ended up getting it. And then Canelo, fights Liam Smith for that belt. He moves back down to one because Canelo was fighting at 155 at one particular time, and now he moved back down to 154 to fight Liam Smith for that belt that Demetrius Andrade had. Then of course Canelo Alvarez was at middleweight. Canelo Alvarez stated that he wanted to be undisputed at middleweight. Demetrius Andrade had the WBO belt. Canelo had got the WBC, the IBF, and the WBA. All he needed was the WBO, and he chose not to fight Demetrius Andrade. I can't remember why. I think I can't remember what happened. But then he moves up to 168, and now Demetrius Andrade has moved up to 168. In my opinion, man, listen, bro. Demetrius Andrade really, but the sad part about Demetrius Andrade is that he can't get any big fights. He was with DAZN at one particular time. DAZN had Jaime McGill was his mandatory. Jaime McGill chose not to fight Demetrius Andrade. You had Billy Joe Saunders, who tested positive for a banned substance, and in the fight that they were supposed to have. You had Triple G, who just did not have any type of interest in fighting Demetrius Andrade, and of course you had Canelo, who also seemed to not have any type of interest in fighting Demetrius Andrade. Then, you have the long, heated rivalry with Charlo, him and Jamal Charlo. Now, him and Jamal Charlo was actually signed and was supposed to fight, but Demetrius Andrade pulled out of that fight for it had something to do with his promotional. He felt like he should have been getting more money. So he pulled out of that fight, which was, I think, a big mistake on his behalf, because I heard Al Heyman was really pissed about that. And so now we're here, where Demetrius Andrade has yet to fight any formidable opponent. I think the biggest opponent on his resume would be Van Martirosyan, who was a top guy at 154 at one particular time. But I mean, Demetrius Andrade just does not have a good resume at all. It's crazy because I don't even want to get on Demetrius Andrade like that. I want to talk about, Edgar Berlanga. Look, it's no way that Edgar Berlanga should deserve a fight with Canelo Alvarez over David Benavidez. You got David Benavidez, he just beat Caleb Plant. And a lot of guys, I just never understand this, bro. Like, you shouldn't do this to your fighter just because an opponent may seem like a potential threat. You shouldn't down them, because then you're gonna want respect from that opponent for your favorite fighter if he beats that opponent, right? But a lot of guys are saying, oh, David Benavidez, he ain't nothing. He couldn't knock out Caleb Plant and all this. My argument to that is like, bro, if he's not nothing, then why don't you just go ahead and fight him? Billy Joe Saunders made this statement a while ago about Canelo, saying like, man, it's funny, Canelo wasn't talking about being undisputed at 168 until David Benavidez got stripped for his WBC belt at 168 or whatnot. Now, granted, obviously Canelo has earned his right to be able to pick and choose who he wants to fight, but I mean, please, I would love somebody in the comment section to justify, Edgar Berlanga getting a title shot or a shot at Canelo over David Benavidez, or even Demetrius Andrade for that matter, bro. Because Edgar Berlanga is just now coming up. He just signed a deal with DAZN or whatnot. I'm pretty sure that was why he signed that deal, because signed that deal with them because he was promised a Canelo fight. But I just don't see him. Honestly, man, I don't see Canelo fighting dude, bro. Like, I just don't see how they would be able to justify Edgar Berlanga getting a title shot over, David Benavidez or Demetrius Andrade. I think personally, I would rather see David Morrell get a title shot over Edgar Berlanga, And that's no discredit to Edgar Berlanga, but I just think Edgar Berlanga is still young and he's growing. He still has some things that he has to accomplish. We haven't seen Edgar Berlanga in there with a legitimate B-level opponent, so I don't see how he would be justified in order to get a shot at Canelo. So I mean, like I said, so I'm not gonna bash Canelo because Canelo didn't say this, but Demetrius Andrade is saying this. As for Demetrius Andrade, I just feel like Demetrius Andrade should just, at some point somebody's gonna have to fight him, man. I know for a fact David Benavidez will fight Demetrius Andrade. I know that for a fact. I know that to be a fact. David Benavidez will fight Demetrius Andrade. But there's talks of David Benavidez fighting David Morrell. But Demetrius Andrade could get the winner of those two. But I just know for a fact David Benavidez will fight Demetrius Andrade. There's also talks. Charlo stated that him and Demetrius Andrade were on the phone, trying to help set up a fight between the two. That fight has been long overdue. That fight they've actually been going at it before we even knew who David Benavidez and Caleb Plant. Going back and forth with each other. We knew about Charlo and Andrade's beef before we knew about David Benavidez and Caleb Plant's beef. So that's a long rivalry. That's a long rivalry waited to happen. So hopefully Demetrius Andrade can get a big fight this year. He's long overdue for one. And whether I never knew why Canelo just doesn't want to fight Demetrius Andrade, and I think that Canelo would beat Demetrius Andrade. I really do. But for some reason, I wouldn't put my money on it now, because it's like I think the fans seem more confident than Canelo does, because I just don't understand why Canelo just just won't fight him, you know? Maybe he doesn't like Demetrius Andrade's style. Maybe he feels like his style will make him look bad. I don't know, but I definitely know Demetrius Andrade, you know, he ain't got no, like, the pop or anything to just make a serious threat for Canelo, but who knows? Let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe, but what do I know? Maybe his style. I don't know.